Hi, my name is JP Ross. Welcome to a new episode of Who Dares Wins. Who Dares Wins is a podcast that I started to encourage people to have faith, to take risks, and to dare themselves to do something different, to think a different way, or to just step out. If you're in Christianity, we believe stepping out or taking a risk is called faith. And if you're in business, or maybe not in the Christian community, you most likely step out on faith, but you call it risk. You take the necessary measures to think about the most, you do your due diligence, and then you're like, the risk is worth it. Like, I believe that the reward is worth the risk. So on Who Dares Wins, this podcast is usually, storytelling, but I'm excited that today is the second part to an interview that I did with my friend Antoneo Hernandez. I believe that he has an amazing story that will be inspiring and encouraging, especially the second part as we learn about transformation, metamorphosis, and the real power of healing and therapy and friendship, and whatever else Antonio wants to share. But before we do, I just want to once again share a disclaimer of what Who Dares Wins is. My name is JP Ross. I'm your host, and to dare is to be sufficiently courageous. And so on this podcast, we'll share stories to increase courage in the listener, you. And sometimes this will look like guests or interviews, and we'll talk about various topics such as faith, mercy, courage, and justice, compassion, risk, missions. These will all be themes. But whatever we do, we'll have fun. It'll be deep. It'll be usable for your life. And it will encourage you to dare at the end of the session. At the end of the episode, I will dare you to do something you wouldn't normally do for the coming week. So I love you. If you have any questions, you can email me at whodareswinspodcast@gmail.com. whodareswinspodcast@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you, hearing your ideas and what you would like to see on future episodes. Thank you so much. Without further ado, we're going to go into the second part to my interview with Antoneo Hernandez. So Antoneo, wow. So this is the second part. Ladies and gentlemen, Antoneo Hernandez. And how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. Well, before we go into it, I think we should do some context a little bit. So just to keep you on board, if you haven't listened to the first part of this series, I guess. Basically, we talked about Antonio's birth to mid-20s when he found the Church of Christ, or Disciples Church of Christ, International Churches of Christ, and that's where me and Antonio met. In the first episode, Antonio shared about how he was born, being from the Bronx and moving to the Lower East Side, going to Puerto Rico, coming back from Puerto Rico, having a fatal car accident, and then in that fatal car accident, he sort of was in the hospital for 2 years, repairing basically, and around that time, his biological mother had left, and his aunt went into his life and became a mother figure to him, essentially adopting him. His cousins became a sister to him, and it was hard. It was a hard transition, but Antonio managed to get his high school diploma, and he was able to in a way adapt and everything, but it was very hard. And then around in his mid-20s, he had a back and forth with his aunt that had been going on for a while. She was pretty tough. We learned that she was kind of abusive and stuff, as some parents can be. But there was so much that Antonio shared. I encourage you to go to the first episode and listen. But around the mid-20s, he meets disciples of Christ when she asks him to leave. And so when he leaves, he begins sleeping on the trains. And that's when he meets disciples of Christ. And he starts, I would say, this metamorphosis that leads him to today. So just wanted to give you a background on that. Many of you have been kind of interested in the episodes that talked about outreach and being there for people and kind of the things that I do. But I thought that there's no greater way to express what this is about and why people like Antonio and I do what we do. Even with having a background that we have, we can't walk away from it. We just feel committed to people and wanting to see them, make it out too. We have compassion. It affected our politics. It affected our faith. It's made us into the men we are today. So I guess from that we can go into like mid-20s, and let's just start from like, okay, you've been asked to leave by your aunt, and now you're on the trains and you're meeting disciples of Christ or something.
Well,
like that.
I met disciples before I was kicked out.
Okay, cool.
So when I was kicked out, I was able to stay with them for a while, to stay with newest disciples. At first it was like I was just staying with different disciples different days of the week, and like I would just make calls and arrange to stay with whoever it was on a different day of the week. And then I went to an agency, and they told me that the only way I was able to get an apartment is if I was to enroll in their program. So, and that was on the Lower East Side. It wasn't the Byron Mission. It was another program.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
I stayed there for a while. They eventually got me an apartment in Brooklyn.
Wow.
And so I moved to Brooklyn for like a little while, and then I stopped going to church. Okay. So they disfellowshipped me.
Wow.
Because I wasn't, and
what was going on that made you not want to go to church anymore, and then eventually
I just had my own spot, man, and I just I was really I think I was kind of like discovering what I was comfortable with, and like, I mean, because I'm not comfortable with crowds. I've never been really, and it's just like,
yeah,
when you get into that life, it's like,
yeah.
Like yesterday, I was at service, and, during the fellowship break, they're like, oh yeah, find somebody you never knew and like, say hello. And I'm like, and I'm thinking like, man, that's so much not, like, not everybody's like adaptable to that.
Right.
And it's like, and then you get into that and you feel like forced to like you want to connect, but you're forced into it, and
you feel
just
this pressure.
Makes you feel more uncomfortable. Yeah, pressure. So, when I got my own spot, it's like, hey, I just want to like relax and chill and like discover, like, spend some time with me after like being around people for so long, like, because the situation I was in, I kind of had to. So I stopped going to church, and they just fellowship me, whatever that means. And
Yeah, there's a few people I knew in my time there that got this fellowship, but then
Yeah,
eventually there's another word when they bring you back.
Restored.
Restored, yeah.
So there's a whole lingo, man.
Mm-hmm. Christianese.
Yeah, cults usually have their own lingo. But as I started like being there more in the apartment, it was like really run down. Like,
this is your apartment that you got in Bushwick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, first of
the
all,
old Bushwick.
First of all, it didn't have a bathroom.
What?
Yeah, I had to go across the hall to the other apartment to go to the bathroom.
This is crazy.
But dig this, like, sometimes the guy would like lock the door so I couldn't get it like out. It was just terrible, and like he wouldn't give us heat, and like, so I'm like, I can't live here, so I started living with some other, like some disciples I was still friendly with.
Okay.
And then, I started living there for a while, and then like it just caused tension with his roommates, and then so I felt like I should just leave and just go to see where was I after that? That was a while ago.
This is before.
I think that's when I went to the Battle Mission.
Wow. So this is after Akhmir or before?
No, that was. Yeah, that's right. I had right, Akhmir let me live with him, right.
Yeah, when I met you, you lived with Akhmir.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't even remember
in
that.
2003.
So I think that was after I moved from.
Because I was working. I remember being on the phone with you one night, kicking it, and I was listening to the radio. I worked in the Bronx at that time, and I was gonna quit that job, and I was on the phone with you, and I was getting to know you, and you were telling me that you live in Queens, and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Oh yeah.
And you told me that you had your GED, and I was like, dang, this guy got his GED, and I don't even have mine.
Okay, cause right after,
yeah, and then I started going to downtown service, and that's when I met Akhmir and everybody.
Yeah,
because me and Natalie broke up.
Okay, because the disciples I was living with after Brooklyn, they were on the Upper West Side. So
okay.
I think after they asked me to leave, that's when Akhmir and I hooked up, and Akhmir was like, yeah, just come stay at our house, and it was chill.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Yeah, I stayed with Akhmir for a while, but what happened was everybody just everybody either got married or fell away from the church or like whatever.
Yeah.
So I had to find another place to stay. I was probably staying on the trains for a little while, and then I checked into the Byron Mission, and that whole mess happened. So yeah.
Yeah, your memory it's hard to remember, right? Okay. Cool.
So I was in Bowery Mission for a while, and that life was just like, well, ever since I was on the street and bouncing around, it's like I just felt like on stasis, like just because you're just on survival mode.
Okay.
Like when you're on the street.
What does stasis mean?
Stasis, like in a coma.
Oh, wow.
Like but not really. Like
wow.
Yeah, look it up.
You're just
I'm not gonna explain words.
You're just like existing.
Yeah.
But you're not conscious.
Yeah.
Wow. You're living in a state of trauma.
Exactly.
Wow.
So
arrested development.
It's just like
without Jason Bateman.
Or speech.
Hey,
only hip hop heads are gonna get that.
Me and Neo have a great connection with dark humor. So if it gets dark, don't get discouraged. We're gonna pick it back up. Because it has a punchline.
So
yeah.
It like during that period when I was on the street, like I didn't.
Wow.
There was no room for like growth at all as a person.
Well,
it's just like survival. You're surviving.
Yeah.
So you don't get a chance to develop yourself. You don't get a chance to develop relationships, really.
Wow.
And it's just like, you're just moving forward without looking around you.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So I was in the environment for a while, and they would the way they handle things were they would wake you up at 5:30 a.m. in the morning every morning.
Wow. Then, so early.
Yeah, and then they would make you attend a service.
Okay. I remember.
And then you would get breakfast, and they kick you on the street. They kick you out. You're supposed to use that time to look around for, jobs or whatever, but because of my disability, I was deemed not well enough to work. So,
by the Bowery or by doctors?
By doctors.
Okay, cool.
So, I would.
But were you getting disability insurance then?
Yeah, I was still getting disability insurance.
Okay.
So that would just help me out,
A little bit.
Yeah. So they would give you the option of coming back around noon time for another service and a meal, but I never did that. I just would use whatever I had from my SSI to get a lunch, but I would come back for supper time because
gotta get that chili con carne.
No, not that. It's like you have to be there for supper and then
to get your bed.
And they ran it on the lottery system, where you
okay.
You would they would just pick you, at random, and then you would have that bed for the week. So on weeks where I didn't get a bed, I would usually be on the train or I'd be staying at a friend's house or whatnot. So so one Sunday morning, they woke us up at 5:30. We, everybody in the morning, everybody just goes into the chapel groggy.
And so let me get this straight too, because this Sunday, yesterday we did a service at the Bowery Mission, and while we were there, someone mentioned that in the very chapel is where everyone sleeps every night. Okay, is that true?
Well,
describe to me a night at the Bowery. for like the listeners.
Yeah, sometimes
I want them to understand.
Yeah.
So that their empathy goes toward compassion, and their compassion goes toward action.
Well, I was there I was there a long time ago, so I don't know if they changed or anything. But
I mean, honestly, I think a lot changed after you.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, they finally got a damn metal detector.
Yeah. Go ahead, continue.
So,
and they have multiple sites now too. Yeah.
So when I was there, they had. Have you been upstairs?
Once.
Because they have beds up there.
Oh, word?
Or at least when I was there.
Well, so when I went upstairs, I think they showed me around, but I went upstairs to meet with one of the directors or something.
Okay.
Because I was trying to get my friend housing on Easter Day. Like Easter, which was impossible.
Yeah, impossible.
But we got him on the phone with Pastor Rex, and were able to find him something. And then he met the next day. We got him into the program, but then he left that program.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the people who don't get beds from the raffle, the lottery, if it's depending on how cold it is, they'll open the chapel
like cold blue
to sleep.
Like cold blue.
Yeah.
Like winter immersion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that I don't know if that's still the policy or not.
Apparently it is. That's what they were saying last night or yesterday.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they were saying that the kitchen, like the floor, and the chapels filled with people.
They didn't let anybody sleep in the kitchen before.
Oh no.
I was there.
Okay.
So I guess a lot did change after me. But yeah.
I think it's because homelessness has gotten a lot worse. I feel like homelessness has gotten a lot worse.
Oh yeah.
Like they just anywhere there's space, they're gonna put people.
Because gentrification is driving a lot of like poor people out, and they go have nowhere to go except on the street.
Yeah, I also feel like I would say 100% of people on the street have mental health issues.
Yeah.
And they're not being checked, or they're not being addressed correctly.
Yeah.
And each person requires time and freaking patience.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we can get into that later when you start to talk about therapy. But yeah, okay, so yeah, like you're explaining a night at the Bowery, and then you leave, and then you're coming back to get the bed, stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah. So one morning they and it they woke us up 5:30. People just waking up. Everybody goes groggily into the chapel, and some people like lay their heads back, so their head is like towards the ceiling. Some people lean on the pew in front of them, like on the headrest. I was leaning my head on the headrest of the pew in front of me.
Wow.
So what happened was,
seems more like a drop-in.
Yeah.
Than like actual beds. Wow.
So some dude came and like sat right where my head was resting, like on the pew in front of me.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm describing the picture accurately, but yeah, hopefully I am. But anyway, to just to put it in layman's term, it disturbed me. I felt it. Somebody in front of me, and then I'm like, I wake up, I'm still groggy, and I'm like, what the F are you doing, man? So you can't see I'm sleeping here?
Yeah.
And he just gets up and he's like, who do you think you are? You can't talk to me like that. I effing cut you. I effing kill you. And then he whips out a razor blade and he slashes. And I believe this was God. This is God. When he brandished the blade, I kicked the pew, so he jumped back. And so as he was slashing and the blade cut my throat, he jumped back and I believe it just missed something vital.
Wow.
And
Man.
So the blade jumped to my shoulder, and I have a scar underneath my shoulder also. And then I remember being in the seeing spots in front of my eyes. And then the next thing I noticed my shoulder, and there's blood dripping from my shoulder. And my friend who came immediately over to me, and I'm like, I looked at him and I'm like, did that guy cut me? And he's like, yeah, he cut you. And immediately after that, blood started spurting out of my neck.
Wow.
Oh my
God.
Like a water sprinkler.
Wow.
Just spurting. And then the nurse came, all heck broke loose. The nurse came over trying to stop it with towels. She was drenched in my blood. Her face was red with my blood. And it was almost like I had an out-of-body experience. It was almost like I was viewing this from outside my body and is this really happening to me? And then, the ambulance came, they put me on the gurney, and they cut my shirt open, and I'm like, I was thinking, wow, I wish he wouldn't have done that, because this would have, if I survived, this would have made a really boss souvenir. And there was a Joker shirt too, so a blood spattered Joker shirt.
Oh my goodness,
really cool.
I remember you had a shirt, and you said this shirt reminds you. There was a shirt that you bought.
Oh yeah. I still have it. It's a shirt with blood on it and
wow.
Yeah. It's pretty boss. But anyway,
wow.
They gauzed me up, took me into the back of the ambulance and rushed me over. That was when St. Vincent's in the village is still open. Is it still open there?
St. Vincent's?
Yeah.
By Snice?
In the village? Yeah.
No. It's closed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See this guy.
Closed in 2012.
Yeah, so thank God it was still open.
The St. Vincent's now is I think on another. There are more, but not that one.
Yeah. So they rushed me over there, and I remember them prepping me for surgery, and I told the nurse, what's happening to me? I don't understand. I'm so scared, and I've never been so scared in my life.
Wow.
And I'm like, am I gonna be okay? Am I gonna live? And she's like, yeah, it's a really shallow cut. And I'm like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, promise me. And she's like, I promise.
Wow.
And that's when she put the mask over my face, and then I just It went black.
Wow. I think it's important also to mention there's so many layers to your life, but I feel like before that happened, when you were staying with me in Benito, there was a time where you got jumped, actually, walking to my home.
Oh, yeah.
And that was frightening too. And then when this happened, it was just like, wow, my God, it's just, and I know that, like, at this point now, we know that, like, you have, like, you experienced depression, and, like, and that finally got, like, diagnosed, so that you could address it. But man, I was like, dude, no wonder this guy's depressed, because he's like, what is going on? Like, these schmucks, like, jumped me. They literally fractured your, like when I saw you in the hospital, I couldn't believe it, and I don't know if you felt comfortable talking about that, but I really want people to understand, like, my God, like, and as I listen to your story, and in this capacity right now, and being friends for so long, and going through what we've gone through together, there's so much that we've gone through together. I feel like this time I really was able to feel and be there, like, with you as a friend, whereas other times it was like, oh my God, but we gotta, like, do this, we gotta, like, do that, and we get caught up in, like, the everything about New York, and we don't really get that space to sit with that and, like, really understand it. And it's just like, you've had so many struggles that it's just like, Jesus,
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that now because I'm just like, dude, like, you're a miracle. You're a miracle. It's like the enemy tried to take you out when you were a boy. He tried to take you out when you were a younger man. He tried to discourage you when you were in your 20s. He tried to take you out when you were just walking through an alleyway in Harlem, and then and back then it was like there were so many voices, because people feel like they didn't know how to be there for you, and so they said what they would say, and a lot of people said a lot of stuff, and I always would say to people, I'm like, no, I had a vision. He's gonna have housing. He's gonna be good. He's gonna be well. And we were far from today back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were far from today back then. And I remember getting in fights and with my at the time my wife, all kinds of stuff, because of believing in you. And then also, when what happened at the Bowery happened, there was no way I could be there for you at all. I was in another part of the entire country, and I feel like that was like this moment where I don't care who I'm with or where I'm going, like, this is gonna be open always, where I am and the person I am, where I've been. And I can't expect people to understand that. I can't even expect my wife to understand it, when I'm married again. But they will understand it now because I get another chance because I'm divorced. But, like, I really wanted to say that because I feel like the times that you shared it with me, it was such a shock that I really didn't know how to respond. And it's like there was no words. But, like, as you share it now, I'm just like, dang, man, I'm so sorry. But you are a miracle. And God has great plans for your life. He wants to use your life. He's going to use your life. And even with this pitiful podcast, he's going to use it. And he's going to raise it. And he's going to grow it. Because your story is important. And we're not even talking about all of the story. We're talking about, like, the you know what I mean? Like, the icebergs of events in your life, but there's these little events in your life that are super significant too. And everything we did with Underground Church and all of that stuff and our relationship. But okay, so now you're at St. Vincent's. Go there.
Yeah, just a side note, I had forgotten about being jumped when I lived with you. I totally
I could never forget that.
Huh?
I could never forget that. When I listened to the voicemail, I was on the F train I was on the M train going back to Bushwick when I came back from Hawaii. I just came back from my honeymoon. I'm on my voicemail. I haven't heard my voicemails in a month, right? I'm listening to these voicemails. Most of them are like BS. Like, can you cover me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, can you cover me for work? I'm like, no, I told you I'm leaving for a month, right? And then one of them is you, and he's like, yo, I just got out of the hospital. I was cut, I nearly died. I'm like, oh my God. I look at Kristen, and she's like, oh my God. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then I'm just like, oh my God, And it was just like a state of shock. It was just, I was just like, Kristen, do you know what this person went through when he lived with me in Harlem? And just trying to explain that. And then just being like, and then the struggles after that, as you pursued your housing, as you began to believe in it again, to fight for your life. So I also believe too that sometimes it takes people realizing no one can get this for me but me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that sucks. But I feel like that was that part of your life was just such a whoa. And also your little niece, was just such a wake-up call for you to live. And and ever since then, you've lived your life. I feel like you've continued to grow into a man that lives his life I don't know when I'm gonna go, but I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna be with the people that sow into my life. So anyway, you're at St. Vincent's, and
but we could get to that later.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You're doing great. Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge that.
I remember the next thing, waking up in the recovery room, and I felt just a state of euphoria that's like no other high I've known. Just this feeling of am I awake? Is this real life? And
wow.
My God, thank you. I'm alive. I'm really alive. I want to live right now. And I just really want to live my life.
Wow.
And oh man, I don't know. I just can't describe the feeling again. I just want to There's an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation where Picard enters this time loop, and
with Q.
No.
Oh, okay.
Q's not in it.
Oh, okay.
So he entered this time loop, and he's reliving the same moment in his life repeatedly.
Okay.
And but it's a distraction by, I think, the Romulans to keeping distracted.
Okay.
But I think about that. If there was a moment in my life where I could live eternally over and over again, it would be that moment, because it just reminded me of how much I needed the vigor I needed to have for life. And I'm trying to find that to this day, because I just further on is I'll get to that further on in the story, but then like so I'm like being rehabilitated in the hospital, you know, the hospital. I was after that happened. I was there for 2 days, and then, you know, they just kicked me out because somebody had to like. They just needed the bed, so they're like, oh yeah, you're fine. So, which is like, I don't know. I just been through a traumatic.
Dude, that's insane.
Thing and like,
that's insane.
Like,
they said just go.
They just packed you up and then.
And you just got.
Then you
God.
And then
wow.
Like, no.
I assume that stuff doesn't happen on a regular, where people are getting stabbed up at Bowery.
Like.
I mean, did you see it when you were there?
See what?
Like, anyone else get stabbed up at Bowery?
No.
Okay, then I'm assuming that doesn't happen regularly. So the treatment of you sounds freaking crazy.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't even have me see a therapist or anything after.
I think since then too they've changed directors and stuff. Yeah. My friend Brian Mull is a part of that now, and he's an amazing man.
Yeah.
He's part of the Rescue Alliance.
So I try to make arrangements, you know, with my family. I think that's when my aunt let me move back in with her.
Wow, how did your aunt respond to what happened?
But then she just felt, I don't know. I don't know.
Did she feel in some ways responsible?
I feel like she's very in the moment. Like, you know, when they heard what happened to me, you know, they went crazy, and like she probably felt some guilt, and my sister felt some guilt, and my niece was like just in tears.
Wow.
So they let me live back with them a while, but they were like, she was like big into the Pentecostal church at that time, and she had all these rules, and like I had to come back
you had a curfew and stuff.
Yeah.
You're like a 30, 40 something year old man having a curfew.
And I couldn't watch certain shows. Dude, she got mad at me because I was watching Will and Grace.
That's crazy.
Because there's gay people involved. They're like, there's demons through the TV, and like.
I love Will and Grace.
Yeah.
It's such a good show.
Well-written show.
Oh, man.
And then,
word up to Grace, too.
So,
That's awesome.
So, yeah, after a while, she was like, well, if you can't follow my rules, then you can't live with me anymore.
Okay. Wow.
So, I'm like,
oh my God.
I don't know what to do. I'm like, this is crazy.
Wow.
You know,
okay.
So
this is like 2009, 2010?
Yeah, about that.
Okay.
So, let me see. I went back to the Bible mission, which is like crazy because no, wait a minute. I lived with my friend Sean and Rosangela for a little bit.
That's right. After you left us, you lived with Sean and Rosangela.
Yeah, for a little bit. And then
I probably still have your Marvel encyclopedia.
Oh. Really?
You left it at Benito's, and then Benito was like, brother, you have to take this with you. I'm like, that's Antonio's. He's like, but it's yours because you're friends. I'm like, well, you're friends with him too. But anyway, you know how that ended.
Yeah.
Anyway, God bless him. He's doing good.
So, yeah, we're good on him.
Yeah. I think Salvador, though, I think he went back home.
Oh.
Yeah, I think he went home.
Cool, because the United States is just like...
Yeah, he was very troubled living here.
Yeah.
He's a justice fighter.
Well, I have trouble living here.
Well, I mean, anyone who's conscious should have trouble living here. How can you do that unless you're like sleeping?
So anyway, Shana World Angel, they're really great friends, and I remember when I was first cut, they were the first ones to like see me. Wow. They ran into my room.
Wow.
To see me.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So they're like my brother and sister to me, and the kids are like my nephews, so.
Yeah. Wow.
But they're family, and the situation with them was temporary.
Okay.
So I checked out. I got told about this drop-in center called Main Chance.
Okay. Yep. I know about Main Chance.
So I went to check that out, and so they had a pretty good program. They would let you hang out during the day, and they had social workers there who worked with you, but they didn't really work with you.
Okay. It just kind of like consoled you emotionally.
They were just there for a paycheck. So
I like to say console you emotionally. Like
well, not even that.
They didn't even make you feel heard.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's real.
So I remember when I was staying at the Bellevue shelter, there had been a couple of workers that came around from Coalition for the Homeless.
Oh, okay.
And then...
Thank God. I'm gonna look them up.
Yeah, and then so that was a few years prior to this.
Okay.
So when I'm staying at Main Chance, I'm a big comic book head. So when I was in a comic store browsing, I see this man that I know, and he's like, hey, and I'm like, hey, and it's one of the workers who came to the Bellevue shelter when I was staying there. He's like, oh wow, you collect comics? And I'm like, yeah, it was a kid. He's like, wow, let me give you my number, man. Yeah, let's have coffee and we could just talk about comics. Yeah, are you still on the street? And I'm like, yeah, man. And I'm like, yeah, come out to my office, man. I'll see if I can help you out, man.
Wow.
And so, and I'm like, I turned heavenward, and I'm like, thank you.
Wow. I remember when you met them because I was working at Snice. I'll never forget.
God.
I'll never forget. You called me and told me about it.
Totally, God.
Yeah. And then I just want to take 1 second. I just want to explain to the people who are listening who the Coalition for the Homeless are. Because honestly, I believe this is the organization that's doing, if there's any organization doing anything to end homelessness, it's the Coalition for the Homeless. If you're thinking about donating to an organization this year or like adding to your giving, I would give to the Coalition for the Homeless. The Coalition for the Homeless is the oldest not-for-profit advocacy group focused on homelessness in the United States. The Coalition has engaged in landmark litigation to protect the rights of homeless people, including the right to shelter and the right to vote, and also advocates for long-term solutions to the problem of homelessness. They were formed in 1981, and the Coalition provided much of the organization and experience that was later used to found the National Coalition for the Homeless in 1984. The Coalition has offices in New York and Albany. You can find out more Just doing a simple Google search to the Coalition for the Homeless. I actually looked on Wikipedia because it's just easier and whatever. But their website is coalitionforthehomeless.org, and please check it out. If you go on their website, you'll see that 63,092 people are homeless and sleeping in shelters in New York City right now. If you go on the website, it says it right there. So yeah, I just wanted to share with you who Coalition for the Homeless are, because after Antonio interacted with them, I started to do research on them, and I was amazed. They're really like one of the only ones actually making real significant change. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so after I met Patrick, that was the worker's name. He things just started to pick up fast. So they hooked me up with going around to different sites, seeing different buildings, different places, but I was still staying at Main Chance.
Oh.
And then Main Chance was like, no, you can't work with two agencies. If you're working with another agency, you gotta go. Wow.
Okay.
So I called Patrick up, and Patrick is like, who they think they is? So Patrick called up the head of DHS.
Whoa. Is Patrick a lawyer?
No, Patrick is
just an outreach worker.
Yeah, Patrick is just an outreach worker. But he has a head on his shoulder.
Okay, cool.
So he had DHS call up Main Chance and be like, you can't. He stays.
Wow.
So I was able to stay at Main Chance.
Everything was good? They didn't respond or get weird with you?
Well, yeah. I was staying at Main Chance, and then one day I came back and they were like, your case is closed.
Did you find Main Chance through All Angels? Because weren't you staying with All Angels for a minute?
No, I didn't. I never stayed that way at the shelter.
I wondered if there was I wondered if they ever found your place, because you were with some stuff that was faith based, a little bit. Maybe it was just Bowery.
Well, I stayed at St. George's. That might be what you're thinking about. We were.
That's faith based. It's got Saint in the word.
So
anyway, okay, cool. So you're at Main Chance. I know Main Chance very much.
Yeah. So they were like, your case closed, and so I called Patrick up, and he's like, oh, yeah, they're playing hardball. I'll hook you up at another shelter, because the thing was, I couldn't move into my new apartment until the 1st. And so they were like, all right, Patrick was like, okay, I'll put you in the shelter temporary in Drop Center. You only have to stay there for 2 days, and then you could go to the apartment that we hooked you up with. It's yours.
And how long did that take?
Huh?
How many months did that take for you to get the apartment?
How many months? From where?
Like from the time you met Patrick to you walked into your apartment.
I want to say 3 months.
It was fast.
But
I remember it being fast.
Yeah, it was fast.
I remember you asking to stay over because you were going to get your papers on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I remember getting in a huge fight with Kristen.
Yeah.
Because, my marriage was in trouble at that point, and I backed down, and it's marriage is tough, and sometimes, whatever. But I mean, at the same time, because of the struggles and everything, and I was like, and because of my disbelief in the system, I was like, I don't know, maybe he's gonna, I don't know, but he needs a place to stay, right? So we're getting in a huge fight, and I just don't want to fight anymore. So I'm like, okay, and I understand I understand where she's coming from. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you showed up that Wednesday with papers. And I remember reading those papers and being like, yo, this looks like a lease. You're like, it is. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, oh my God. You know? And I'm like, praise God. Oh my God, oh my God. And I'm like, this is a lease. And I'm like reading it. And I'm like, oh my God, you only paid this much money. Oh my God. And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, like immediately go crazy. He got an apartment, you know. And I was so pissed, but I was also so happy, and like, it overrides all the other stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we ultimately, it happened. You know what I mean? And so it was about like seeing your place and, you know, describe what that was like for you, like when you got those papers. And
well, yeah.
Did it feel real until like you were in your apartment? Like,
well,
did it feel real when you were in your apartment?
That's the thing. I can't like, cause the way I was back then, I could never like believe something until it actually happened.
Especially good news, right?
I mean, even now, I still can't.
Wow.
So,
and if you don't mind, do you have a ballpark figure of maybe how long you were experiencing homelessness for until you met Patrick? Like, you've stayed with me and stuff like that, but in New York, if you don't have your name on a lease, you're technically homeless.
About 15 years.
Wow.
Ballpark.
Wow. Dang, bro. But it makes a lot of sense with the Arrested Development and where you're at now and where you're going, you know?
Oh,
because now you're finally like, we're not there yet, but we're like, you're at least you have a place, and it's like we can build from there.
Yeah.
So, okay, continue. I want people, you know what I mean? Whatever. I've been saying it. I want them to understand.
Yeah.
You know? Because you're not just like Antoneo Hernandez. You're like freaking Antoneo Hernandez. You know what I mean? So, like, that's really important. Like, you're a child of God. He loves you. And you had a hard life. But, man, this pain is going to be used. It's going to be used, man.
So,
yeah.
So
you got the paperwork. Okay.
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna rewind a little bit before I get the paperwork.
Okay.
So I go up. So the Monday morning, I remember this. The Monday morning, I go up to where they told me where they give me the directions to the building and everything. And then they're like, okay, you wait in front of the building for the real estate agent, and she's going to give you the lease so you can sign it. And then, so I followed their directions. I go up to the building. I'm waiting in front of the building. Nobody's there.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, I pray, and I'm like, God, what's going on? Am I not going to get this apartment? I'm so close. I really felt like this was it. So I called the worker. Like Patrick. There were two outreach workers working with me, Patrick and Leslie. So I called Leslie up because Patrick had a workload, so he referred me over to Leslie, and they worked kind of in conjunction. So I called Leslie, and Leslie's like, okay, calm down. I'll see I'll give her a call, and I'll see what's happening. So I hang up on Leslie, and I'm like, really, I'm praying. I'm like, God, let something be, something that's gone wrong is going to be corrected all. Because I really want, this is really what I need this. And so I get a call a few minutes later, and it's Leslie, and Leslie's like, oh yeah, she's upstairs in the apartment. And I'm like, really? And like, yeah, he's like, well, you told me to wait in front. Yeah, well, she's in the apartment. I'm sorry. So, and I'm like, what apartment is it? She's like, the
5,
apartment
right?
number. I'm like,
I'm trying to think what it is too.
so, no, I'm not gonna say it on the show.
Okay.
So, I ring the bell, and she rings me up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. So I like go to the apartment, ring the doorbell, and it's a real estate agent, and like, yada. She gives me the lease, and she's like, this is your apartment, enjoy. And I'm like, and then
Wow.
like I close the door, I lock my door,
Deadbolt and everything,
and
right?
I plop on the bed.
Wow. Furnished.
And I'm like, no, the bed wasn't furnished. I had a kitchenette, a bed, and so, but the point is, I plopped on the bed, and I just felt this. Like I felt like I arrived. This was the culmination of a journey of a heart, and it was hard earned, and it was like I remember you always used to tell me, go out and get yours, and like I mean I had help, but it wouldn't have mattered if I just like I had my part in it. I was obedient. I did the footwork.
You did everything Patrick asked you to do. I was so proud of you.
Exactly.
Because years ago you were resistant, but that was because of the wounds from life that made you distrust people. And I think like also there was this part of you, even with me sometimes, where it took me so long to get to where I'm at. And that is like, I believe the lie that I'm supposed to have this shitty life, but that's not God's plan. That's a lie.
Yeah.
That's a lie. And we got to remove people in our lives that tell us that that's the way it's supposed to be.
When I'm done with Jefferson Bethke's book, he talks about that.
Wow.
He talks about like that's not our design. We are designed by God to be successful. When our design is not to feel depressed and feel down about our lives. We are princes and princesses of the living God.
Wow.
Our design, that is our design.
Wow. Come on.
It's like...
Come on, Jefferson.
Jefferson's so amazing. He's like...
And what book is that? That's the new one? Just in case
it's called
people want to check it out.
To Hell with the Hustle.
Wow.
And
To Hell with the Hustle by Jefferson Bethke.
Yeah. And his first book, which is Jesus is Greater Than Religion, that book actually helped me a lot. Like when I was on the street, I read that book when I was on the street, and that coupled with Jay Baker's book, Faith, Lies, and
Faith and Doubt and Other Lines I've crossed along the way.
Those two books combined, they helped me.
Love that book.
They helped me to stay faithful.
Wow.
Throughout the hell I was going through.
Man, I can't wait to tweet or Instagram Jay and tell him that.
Yeah.
Because that book, out of all of his books, got the most controversy from people. And I remember when I finished reading it for the first time, I was like, Jay, this is your best book. This is your best book. This book is really amazing. And he said, bro, your tweet has made my year. You know, because Jay was living in Williamsburg. You know, he went through all of that, and now he's in Minnesota, and he struggles with depression as well, and he's recently come out about that in recent years, and but he's doing really well. He remarried, and he's doing really well. He leads the Revolution Church in Minneapolis,
cool.
And I know he would love to hear that, dude. That out of all the books, because y'all, you've been reading, bro. Out of all the books that sustained you or Jesus is greater than religion, and faith and doubt and other lines I've crossed along the way.
Yeah.
By my personal friend Jay Baker, who's also the personal friend and pastor to Mike Ness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Cool.
And like we're part of that tribe.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? We like part.
Of course, no doubt, man.
No doubt, bro.
So
that's right.
Yeah. So and it's like it's just so terrible because like
Wow.
the Church of Christ and cults like that will teach you like
Wow.
not to like you can ask questions like this is what God, you know, you can't question God. This is like what.
Yeah.
What God is leading you to because whatever.
Well,
God
I remember.
dispute to you.
Yeah, I mean, I remember just like after the Henry Crete letter came out. We talked about Henry Crete in the first episode. When the Henry Crete letter came out, I met Underground Church. You introduced me to Underground Church.
Yeah.
And I remember telling everyone in CR, because I was a CR leader. CR means chemical recovery. It was like our church's version of AA. And we're just breaking stuff. We're getting we're like Limp Bizkit out here.
Yeah, every time we talk about Church of Christ, we get mad.
Yeah, just start throwing stuff.
Yeah,
Anyway, no, we got love. There's grace. There's mercy. What is then is then, and this is now.
Yeah.
So, amen. So, shout out to S.E. Hinton. Love you. Thank you. You're the reason I read today. Anyway, if you don't know who S.E. Hinton is, check out The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. It's also Rob Lowe's first movie. You know, Amelia Estevez, like everyone you've ever known. But anyway, S.E. Hinton is the reason I read. And so that'll be another episode. But I just, I'm really, it's important to mention that because when I started going to Underground Church, nobody at Church of Christ wanted to do outreach. Nobody wanted to reach out to anybody. They're like, I don't have a conviction about it. I don't know what I feel about that. I don't care about what you feel about it.
Crazy.
People in Harlem are dying, you know?
Crazy.
And then...
That was Jesus' whole mission.
I mean, literally, midweek service was like 15 people, and we'd be in a circle talking about like what we have a conviction about and what we don't. And then I was like, "Yo, I'm out of here. I'm going to Derek's house. We're gonna cook some food and Underground Church and Austin and Justin and Antonio, and we're gonna go out and love people at Union Square, Washington Square Park, Penn Station, Times Square, you name it, right?" And the Vents by NYU, and my life and my faith was brought back from the dead.
Yeah.
I mean, my faith was dying. I was really...
Because we were putting ourselves in Jesus' sandals.
Whoa. Say that again.
That's what Jesus was all about, man.
Wow.
He was here for the broken.
Wow.
He was here to save, to heal the broken, to heal the sick.
Wow. You said it's the sick who need a physician, not those that are well. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
So, getting back to me, because this is all about me, bro.
Amen. Amen. No. It's the Antoneo show.
So,
So, on that, we're just going to take a brief pause and come right back. Thank you for listening to Who Dares Wins. Hey, thank you so much for listening to Who Dares Wins. I'm JP Ross. We're back with Antonio Hernandez. We're having an amazing discussion. It's just amazing miracles. God is real. But we're back now with Antonio. And so you were just about to say what you were saying.
I'm in my apartment. I've been there for about 7 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in therapy. But it's just...
So was that part of the plan, like simultaneously you have your housing plus therapy?
Yeah, because I think the HC which runs my building, they requires you to go to therapy because it's a building for specifically for the mentally challenged.
In that building?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to therapy, but I, even to this day, I struggle because I feel like I'm unmotivated.
Okay.
Like I have all this vision, but I'm like so, like I question myself so much,
Right.
and then I'm just like, cause I've had this idea to write my story,
Yeah.
to write it and to get a book out, and I still intend to do that, but I just get so depressed and like you said earlier, like I'm a miracle and I'm like freaking Antonio Hernandez. I don't feel like that.
Okay.
I don't, and it's like when it just like
Many people feel like that.
the times I'm happiest is when I'm with my friends and with my family. But honestly, I feel like I'm the only one working on my relationships.
Seems
You know,
one-sided.
because I don't get phone calls. I call people. I reach out, and it's like sometimes there's just like it gets exhausting, and I feel like if they don't care about me, like why should I care about them? And it's just like so much like that beats me down,
Right.
and then I'm just like is it would anybody really care to read about me, to read about what happened to me? And like I want to do it. I want to like write. I've had someplace for 7 years now, and like I've written probably a page and a half because I don't have that confidence in myself.
And that page and a half is fire. Fire. I'm telling you, this
I
guy.
just don't have any faith.
You
in
like
me.
Chuck Palahniuk, wait till you read Antonio Hernandez. Let me tell you. Let me tell you.
But yeah,
This guy's like the prodigy. This is like the prodigy. the proto. The I don't know, like what you would say is like a person that comes after someone. But
yeah, I need to like there's so many like I've even asked Chuck for help. Like Chuck Palahniuk is my favorite prose author. I've asked him. It's so funny because I've seen him like 7 times. The last time I saw him, he was like, "Hey, I know you." Like I come up next to the line, it's like, "Hey, I know you," and I'm like, "Yeah." It's like just so friendly, and like he just makes. He just has a heart, he's really grateful for his fans. Like, you can just really tell.
Well, if you don't know who Chuck Palahniuk is, if you've ever heard of the movie Fight Club with Brad Pitt, or books like Choke, Survivor, Invisible Monsters.
Beautiful You, I really recommend.
Beautiful You, highly recommended. Yeah, he's just incredible. Incredible writer. Lullaby, whoa, that's one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
You just want to check him out. Chuck Palahniuk, easy, simple Google search Chuck Palahniuk. You will thank me later. But this man is very. Not everyone gets him. That's true. He's not for the faint of heart. But I would say if there's any author that has impacted you greatly, it's him.
Yeah.
It's him. I would really say, like, I feel like it was me and you that went to see him at the Apple store, right?
Yeah.
Man, he was wearing that pink shirt. I was like,
Yeah.
dude, he make pink look good. It's like Chuck Palahniuk looking good out here, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not even gay, but this guy looking good. And then you were like waiting for the bathroom, right? You were right next to him waiting for the bathroom. I'll never forget that, dude. That was fire. That was when Choke became a movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, you want to check him out. I mean, he's impacted Antonio's life so great. So I feel like Chuck Palahniuk, Jefferson Bethke, Jay Baker, and then some other writers, but those
Grant Morrison.
Grant Morrison
is a comic book writer.
Wow. I would say too, like the role of comic books in your life really kept you at least childlike, but also like hopeful.
Well, yeah,
you know,
I mean,
believing in an alternative,
yeah,
but not corny, you know, like because you're the one comic book guy I know that like when we would go to like Marvel Comics or something, and I'd be like, oh, you should work here, you know, and you're like, no, man, like I can't stand comic book people who think this is real, you know.
Yeah,
and I thought that was so funny, you know. Like I just pictured you being like at comic book conventions, like it's not real.
Yeah, I can't
fantasy.
stand fanboys, man. It's just fanboys are the worst, man.
Is there a correlation with that though? Comic books and
well, yeah,
something?
when like, cause I didn't grow up with a father figure, so I learned all my morals from superheroes.
Wow.
Like, and me and like. One of my best friends, my brother Lamont, we had this joke that Adam West is my dad.
That's awesome.
So that's my bad dad. So,
That's so cool.
So yeah,
so
but
cool.
all my morals, all my character, I learned from superheroes because they like, especially the ones that don't have any powers or limited superpowers like Batman and Daredevil, because they sacrifice themselves to like want to help others. Like Superman, he has all this power in the world. He could rule the world if he wants to, but he suppresses his powers to help people. And you know, it like, even like he has his vulnerability, he has kryptonite, but even in spite of the danger of running into that, he's still like, heroes will always find a way. That's why Man of Steel pissed me off when he like snaps his enemy's neck. Like, Superman would never do that. Superman always finds a way.
Yeah.
And so I learned all my morals from heroes. And that's like, I want to be I strive to be a hero to people. I strive to help people. That's my heart. That's why when we were doing outreach with Underground Church, it's like, that's what I want. I remember Derek one time saying, like, this guy's homeless himself, but yeah, he wants to help other homeless people. And like that, I remember that about Derek. That one thing.
Wow.
So that impressed him about me. So yeah,
I could just picture him saying it too.
Yeah.
He'd be like, yeah. It'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you're an amazing guy.
So I'm just trying to like get that fervor back. Like when I first woke up, of like wanting to live my life, wanting to like really make something of my life. That's what I was talking about with Johnny, a friend of ours who I visited his church service yesterday, and we discussed this last time. I'm praying for 2020 to be my year, man.
Amen.
I just cause I want to move. I want to start writing. I want a relationship. And I just want to grow as the man I ought to be, but I feel like I've missed out on so much. I mean, I know God is in control of my life, and He's orchestrating it the way He would.
Wow.
But I still feel like
He's a redeemer.
I feel like stunted, like I ought to be someplace where I'm not,
But I just felt one, I agree with all of that, and I believe in it, and I believe this is your year. I also believe you just celebrated a birthday, and I believe that, honestly, I just felt what leaped in my spirit was 50's the new 30. Like, because when I met you, I felt like you were in your 30s, and we were just discovering these things together. It was almost like, in some ways, because of everything that happened to you, like, it was like, wow, like, I don't know who Antonio is prior to meeting him in these, like, last couple years, And now we've known each other for a long time. And I believe it with all my heart, brother. Like, that's why I had you on the show, and this is probably where we can close, but, like, that's why I had you on the show. That's why I wanted you to be my first interview. I had ideas and everything, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, the bread and butter to my existence has been overcoming the challenges I've faced in my life. And when I think about a person who's overcome challenges and is still fighting, and that's relatable, is you. And I was like, we might not be able to get him a computer. We might not be able to get him an ability yet to somehow transcribe what he says into written word, right? But we can get him on a podcast. I can get him on a podcast. I can get him to tell his story. And from that story, hopefully we can create a buzz, and then we can maybe garner resources to get you so you can get some writing done. And there's a lot of avenues now. There's word to text. There's all kinds of things, and the computer too. Like, even if it's a slow process, but bro, with everything you've been through, the way you write and even your grammar is fire. My grammar sucks, but your grammar is good, and it's like, even no matter whoever you are who's listening right now, no matter where you are in your station in life, man, there is nothing stopping you but you. There's nothing stopping us but us. Nothing stopping me. The world is you. Wait, the world is ours.
The world is mine.
The world is mine. Whose world is this? The world is yours. The world is yours. Who's mine?
Nas, man.
That's right.
Nas is a prophet, bro.
Nah, yeah. Nazi. Word.
But
I just wanted to say that, and as we kind of come to a close, and maybe you give final remarks, but like, I really do believe that, like, this, let this be an encouragement. Let this be, an opportunity, not just like a friend with a show, but like actually like an opportunity, man. You've stepped out. You've had friends that have put you in comedy. You got to experience that. You've had some experiences, and I really believe, like, I feel like going forward, like, I'm to call you every morning and be like, you're alive, and try and like reinvigorate that moment.
Yeah.
I felt like that's what Holy Spirit was saying, was like, reinvigorate that moment so that He knows. Because when you were sharing about your time being alive, I was sharing about that time when I got my apartment in Jersey City. And I was like, I did it. I did it. I got what I need outside of after my divorce. I got what I need after my marriage. I did it on my own with my friends though. But on my own, I paid for it on my own. It's my name, you know. And then like where God has me now, and I see where God has you now. And there's times where like we have to call each other, remind ourselves of life skills.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a mindset. But any closing remarks you want to leave with people?
Yeah, I really feel like God is giving me a gift of like words and speech. Like I've been told that I have a way with my words.
Wow.
And it's like, and even like the poetry I've written, like people would read it and be like, "Oh, this is good," and I'm like, "It's crap." But I'm my biggest critic. I can like, you know, yeah. I just need to like. I just need to be more confident in myself. And like something that I read from Chuck Palahniuk, he says when you have a story and you actually write it out on paper or you actually say it, it becomes part of the ether and it becomes, for lack of a better term, tangible. And so you can finally see it and work it into something malleable.
Wow.
So I'm just I wanna start getting motivated. I'm not like I need to start getting motivated, and like there's different reminders, different things that that I come across as like reminding me to do something and then go for it. Like I was listening to Nas this morning, you know, it's my world, you know, and I just need to really motivate myself, find that spark that I can work off of.
I will say this: the inspiration that I have received and like how I feel so good about where my life is right now has a lot to do with the community that I'm a part of now at church, and like those friends that I've made. It's like it kind of helped a lot to go to a smaller place, but also to go to a place that believes in me and will speak good things into me consistently. And then like they see the gold in me, like the way we see the gold in you. And then if you continue to hear that and people encourage you with it, like it really does take an effect. But I will say this too, we have to fight. We have to fight for our thoughts. We have to fight. And sometimes it means like for me, I spend a lot of time listening to worship music, and because I need that reinforcement of the promises of God, because this world is not going to remind you of the promises of God. Like sometimes being alive is amazing, but like sometimes it's not going to, because it's not going to remind you of the character and quality of God, right? And we have to understand too, like who we are praying to and who we are thinking about, and not everyone is on the same team, and so you want to be like, you want to have the right team around you, and that's what's helped me the most, and that's why I started the podcast, is because the way to respond to fear and beating myself up, being like I haven't done nothing, you know what I mean? And if you look at my last year's episodes, they're so sporadic, they're like broken up into months apart. But you know, this year it's about putting out constant content and building on it, because God has shown me, and He's shown me with the way He's moved in my family and in my life, and in your life, you know that He is alive and He is real, and that He lives inside you, and He has given you everything you need to become everything you've ever wanted to be. And age is only a number, you know? Like, age is only a number. Anything that we want to get fixed, like I lost teeth from bicycle accidents and like poor management, you know, of self-worth and health, whatever it is. But man, God is good, man, because now I love the life I live. I work out, I'm eating right, you know what I mean? And like, these things take proaction. So that's what I was going to say. And I'm so happy that you've been coming more and more. And like, even if you're just listening, you're getting that information. You're getting that source, you know? And part of that, getting that source, is you have to get a clear message about the character and identity of God. Because the character and identity of God is directly related to who we are as people, because we're His creation. We're His children, created for good works. And so I think the sky's the limit for you. I've seen how much you've grown since starting therapy, and now you're doing physical therapy. And I want to just say, before I let you finish, I just want to say, if you've been moved by listening to this, please reach out to me. And I would love to have an opportunity to just sow into Antonio and sow into this project to get him writing, to even add to his apartment, even add to just adding to the quality of his life. And if you've been moved by that, please reach out to me at whodareswinspodcast@gmail.com. whodareswinspodcast@gmail. We'll call it like the Neo Fund, you know, and where we can just really sow into not just hearing and saying this guy's great, or that we love him and believe in him, but really backing it up with finances, resources, support, love. Bible says that where your heart is, your treasure will be there also. And so what we treasure the most is where our heart's going to be. So if I say I love someone but I don't sow into them, then do I really consider them? Are they really a treasure to me? Anyway, just something to think about, and something that challenges me to this day. And so I just want to challenge you, if you felt moved and you want to be a part of that. I just feel like God is saying, you know, to sow into that. We're going to call it the Neo Fund. And you can email me at whodareswinspodcast@gmail.com. And so we can get this boy writing. We need to get this book out. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
It's so interesting that when you mentioned having the right team around you, and like, because I can be really skeptical. There's been so many like false voices around me, and like I'm at times I could be a little, for lack of a better term, gullible, I guess. I don't want to use, yeah. I have a hard time giving compliments, and I have a hard time believing compliments. And like, if I think you're phony, I won't like pay attention to it.
Okay.
And like,
yeah,
you know,
that's real.
But
you need to. I'm keeping it real. We need to. I had to learn. I had to learn how to receive compliments. You know. Yeah. And it's really good. It's good. The Bible says, "Let another man praise you, and not your own lips." Yeah. So when someone praises you, God's with it. God's like, "Yo, man, from His lips to my ears," or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But one of my favorite movies recently is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. If you haven't seen that movie,
the movie's amazing.
See it.
Wow.
But anyway, there's this one scene in it where like the Spider team is discussing whether the the main protagonist, Miles Morales, if he's ready for a certain mission, and they're like, we don't think he's ready. We we're not. He's gonna, bring us down. He's gonna distract. We're always gonna take care of him, like, and the real Peter Parker, he's like, give the kid a chance. He deserves, and so he's outvoted. So Peter Parker has to tell Miles Morales that he's not, like, he's got to sit the mission out. So he's like, kid, you can't come with us. You're not ready for the mission. You need more time. And he's like, Miles tells him, well, when am I gonna know it's my time? When am I gonna, like, I know I'm ready. When is it gonna be enough time for you till I can show you I'm ready? And Peter just looks at him. He's like, kids, sometimes it's a leap of faith. That's all it is.
Wow.
And then there's a part in, like, there's another part at the very end of the movie where it's like, because Peter's from another dimension, so
the original Peter Parker.
Yeah. So Miles is like, you gotta go back home. He's like, and then Peter had this broken marriage and he lost his job and everything. He's like, yeah, but what if I mess up again? And then Miles tells him, sometimes it's a leap of faith. That's all it is. So that was Miles' whole journey. Like, he discovered who he was because he took that leap of faith. Because he believed in himself finally. That's the journey I'm on right now.
I think also too, a key component to Miles' faith too came from his father figure. And I feel like we have to sometimes embrace, even if we don't have our biological father's support, we can embrace the men in our lives that are like a father figure to us or mothers to us. And it was when, I call him LeBron James, but when the dad who's an officer says to him, there's something in you, you're great, and when you're ready, just do it. You know what I mean? Something like that. Like, I believe in you. Like, you're in it.
Yeah. When he was talking to the doorway.
I almost felt like he was trying to say to him, like, I've been holding back from letting you know you're Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you who you are now. Because he had to, because his brother was like Claw Guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, and then, like, his dad is probably like a superhero of some kind, but he chose to be a cop, And so it's like in their family. And so when Miles heard that, it triggered, it set him off. He needed the affirmation of his dad. He needed an affirmation of an older person who wasn't part of that group, right? And it was like something sparked in him. And so what I wanted to say,
literally,
what I wanted to say, it's true. What I wanted to say for you is that when people come around you and they want to encourage you and they're older or whatever, or they seem more mature in a topic or an issue, like, receive what they say. You know what I mean? Not everything might be like on point, but like, allow space for that to be on point at a later time. Don't discard it. Allow it. Because God's putting people in your life to really, really be that part to push you over into that leap of faith that Miles eventually found. And I'm honestly, like, when he gets on the scene, he's like the baddest Spider-Man there is, So not only does he have a fleek outfit, like, he's like pretty amazing at Spider-Man. But yeah, man, like, I believe that with all my heart. And I think, like, as we finish the episode, we could just pray into that dude, this is your year. Fall into that leap of faith. Heavenly Father, God, I just thank you so much for Antonio. I thank you for my friend Neo. I thank you for everyone that's listened to this episode and these previous episodes, as they're going to be broken into segments. But God, I just thank you so much for everyone who's been listening, everyone who's been moved by Antonio's story. I pray that people would grow in empathy, and it would move to compassion, and compassion would move to action. God, I pray that we would not walk by, but that we would listen, and we would listen to people. We'd believe in people, that we would see, Lord God, that what we experience sometimes is not the whole story, and that even after you get the breakthrough, there sometimes needs to be more time of rehabilitation and repair and restoration. So God, right now I pray for Antonio that he, Lord Jesus, would fall into that leap of faith, of creativity, and that vision that you've given him, and that he would be alive every day. That every day he wakes up, he'd be like, oh man, I'm alive. I'm alive every day. And that would inspire him to do great things. I pray, Lord God, for his creativity, his writing. I pray for his relationships that are on the way. And I pray, God, for his housing situation and moving to a place where he feels comfortable and he feels home and he feels like he can be the best that he wants to be, God. I thank you so much for that, God. I pray for him, believe in him. I thank you for him being on a guest on the show, being my first guest on the show. And I just believe in him, God. He has an incredible story, God. Use his story to bring you glory. Use his story to bring you glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, I dare you to talk to someone that you might see on the street. Encourage someone. If you have a friend that is like in between, in transition in their life, reach out to them. And if you have a friend who might have experienced homelessness or something else traumatic like that, give them a call and see how they're doing, because the follow-up and the aftercare is just as important as the pre-care of getting them off the streets. We love you, believe in you. Thank you so much for listening. Look so much forward to putting out more content, and look forward to it every Monday. Love you. God has a great plan for your life. Thank you for listening. And if you'd like to donate to the Neo Fund to help Antonio get off his feet and get the ball rolling with his writing, or you just want to partner with that, or partner with me and taking the podcast to another level, all proceeds right now will go to the Neo Fund though. So we're calling it the Neo Fund, and you just email me at whodareswinspodcast@gmail.com, whodareswinspodcast@gmail.com, and I'll be in touch with you. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day. Until next time.